What's going on, everyone? My name's Eric, and today I'm going to show you everything you need to know to set up and restring your headless guitar. Here we go. Now, changing the strings and setting up a headless guitar is actually quite simple. And the first thing that we're going to do is actually loosen the strings off the guitar. You're going to do that with these saddles right here. Now, this is an 8-string guitar, and this is going to apply to any sort of headless guitar that has this kind of bridge on it here. And what you're going to do is simply turn this adjustment piece here all the way to the left. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. I'm going to pluck this E string here. And you're going to repeat that as many times as you need to, just so every string is loose and floppy like this one here. Now, since this guitar doesn't have traditional tuning pegs and the way to hold the string at the headstock because the guitar doesn't have a headstock, what we need to do is actually loosen these string retaining screws right here. Now, these threaded parts right here, these just clamp the string right down at the headstock, very similar to like a Floyd Rose nut in that sense. So what we're going to do, you're going to take an Allen wrench, and this is the same size Allen wrench that you're going to use on your guitars that have Floyd Rose bridges and nuts. It's the same one that fits in the nut. You're then going to insert the Allen wrench into the threaded part here. And take that all the way out. Then you slide the string out just like that. And then you're going to repeat that for all of the other strings on the guitar. Now all the strings are loose, and what you're going to do is simply hold that adjustment piece here, and then you're just going to push all of those old strings right out the back end. These pieces are going to be pretty loose here, so you do want to make sure they don't just flop out. So make sure they are threaded on just a little bit so they aren't falling all over the place. Even when you are pulling the string out, they might want to come with you. So again, just be careful when you're doing that so you're not losing any pieces of the guitar. Now at this point, this is going to be the best time to hydrate that fingerboard if you have an ebony or a rosewood fingerboard like we do on this guitar here. And then what you're also going to do is just, wipe the guitar down. This is a matte finish, so you don't need any sort of guitar polish. But if you do have any sort of sweat stains or any marks on it, what you can do is take something like this Dunlop 65 cleaner with a microfiber cloth, and you can kind of spray that on the guitar, work it in with the microfiber cloth. If you got a bunch of dust on the guitar, simply just wipe it off, and that'll come off just like that. So I'm gonna go do that, and then I'll see you for the next step. Now, before we restring the guitar, I do wanna mention that this is where things can get a little complicated on an extended range headless guitar. If you have a regular 6-string headless guitar, you can pretty well use any kind of guitar strings, but when you are getting to the extended range realm like we are in this video with this particular 8-string guitar, you have to use kind of specific strings that have a long enough taper for the string to actually get to the actual headstock of the guitar so you can lock it down right up here. Now, in today's video, I'm gonna be using the D'Addario 8-string Strandberg guitar string set. It's a 9 to 84 gauge here. This set comes stock on these guitars from factory, so I'm just gonna use these ones again and again because they are provided by the owner of this guitar. I emailed Strandberg and they said you can actually fit up to a 95 gauge in this particular saddle right here for the 8-string, which is really great, especially if you want to tune low, given this has a very long scale length, which allows you to tune lower. But if you do want to use thicker strings for your extended range headless guitar, or in today's video, this Strandberg, you got to make sure that the string is actually tapered correctly so that the tapered end is actually going to fit through this tiny little hole that goes through here. And if the taper is not long enough, your string is actually not going to fit through here properly. It's not going to sit in there properly, and it's actually not going to tune up properly, and you're going to be kind of back to square one and having to use some different strings. Make sure that you're using strings that are tapered properly for your extended range headless guitar. Otherwise, if you don't have an extended range headless guitar, use whatever strings you want and you're gonna be just fine. And one last thing that I tried, just because I don't have a larger string gauge like a 90 or 95 to tune even lower on this guitar, I tried a bass string on it, and bass strings are actually not gonna fit because they're gonna get bound up right at the end, right where a little bit of that winding is right before you get to the ball end of the string. That's gonna get stuck in this actual hole right here where you feed the string in. You're not gonna be able to tune the guitar, the ball end is gonna be hanging out, it's not gonna look good, and it's honestly just not gonna be able to be set up and be able to play properly. Make sure you are getting the proper strings. There's a ton of really good string options out there, but if you are in this situation with your extended range headless guitar, it might be beneficial if you just use the stock strings that these guitars come with right from the factory. So now we're gonna restring this guitar here. I have my 8th string here. This is an 84 gauge. So now I'm gonna feed the string in. It's gonna go right through this back section here on the saddle. I'm gonna pop that up, then I'm just gonna pull it all the way through. You're gonna pull it all the way through so it's sitting real tight. Then I'm gonna slide the string all the way through, as you can see on screen. Now that we're holding the string and pulling it tight, what we're gonna do, take that Allen wrench, we're gonna lock that string down. And just like a Floyd Rose nut, you gotta make sure it sits in there properly. Now it might be a little bit hard to see on screen here. As you can see right at the back here, there is a tiny little separation. It's gonna be really hard to see on camera, But right where my Allen wrench is, that is where the taper is on this. So that means the string is actually a little bit thinner on the back end here, so that part can actually fit through where you're supposed to lock the string. If your string does not have the correct size of taper on the guitar, depending on how thick the string is, then you're gonna run into the issue where the string is actually not gonna fit in here and you're not gonna be able to lock it down. Honestly, don't recommend drilling because that's probably gonna destroy a lot of this hardware, and then you're gonna be in a worse off spot. So just make sure you have the correct taper length for the guitar strings. Ask the different guitar string manufacturers what their taper length is if you're in a situation like this when you have to restring your extended range headless guitar. Now, tuning the guitar up to pitch is going to be very easy. It's just the reverse of what we did to actually loosen the strings. So let's take that floppy A string, spin it up like this, turning the actual adjustment piece here clockwise or to the right. As you can hear, now we're in tune. I'm going to do this for the rest of the strings on the guitar, and I'll see you for the next bit. Now, adjusting the action on your headless guitar is pretty simple. Some guitar manufacturers might not give you any tools to adjust the action on the guitar, depending on the kind of hardware that they are using. In some cases, you might have to use a wrench when you are adjusting certain pieces like this. Some bridge manufacturers like Hipshot, they use something that's really similar to their Hipshot 2-point trim, or at least like their Hipshot hardtail bridges that use Allen wrenches to adjust them. That's usually kind of my favorite. In this case, Strandberg gives you like this multi-tool. So you have 2 Allen keys, which is sweet for unlocking and locking the strings at the nut and adjusting the intonation screws at the bottom here. You also have like these hex drivers right here. These are going to fit right over where the string is sitting. So you're just going to plop it right on top here, and then you're going to adjust it either left or to the right based on if you need to take the action higher or lower. So I'm going to go do this across all of the strings on the guitar, as the owner of this guitar wants the action super low so it can be pretty shreddy. So I'm going to go do that for them, and then we are going to be rocking for the next part of this video. Now at this point, we're going to adjust our truss rod on the headless guitar here. This guitar comes with a truss rod adjustment tool, which is super nice, and a lot of these high-spec import guitars, or just high-spec guitars in general, are going to come with some tools. And the neck on this guitar is going to adjust the exact same way as a traditional guitar with a headstock would. If we have a back bow on the neck, just like we do in this case, we're going to turn this to the left. And if we have a bit of a bow where it looks like a U shape, if we're looking down the fingerboard, we're going to turn this adjustment piece here to the right to kind of counteract that and bring the neck up to make it a little bit more level. All right, so now we're going to check the intonation of the guitar. I have it flipped over on its side here. That is to mimic it in playing position, because this does matter when you are checking for intonation, because you want to check for intonation and tuning in the position that you are going to be playing it in, not the way that you are going to be working on it. There's our B string. Hopefully that picks up on camera. That is totally in tune. Just keep picking and tuning just to make sure that the note you pick is going to be in tune, not the sustained note after. And let's check that 8th string. This one usually gives us a lot of issues. Okay, as you can see, the note that I'm playing on the 12th fret is sharp. And what you do to fix that is basically just intonate it as you would with any other guitar. This is very similar to a Floyd Rose as well. What we're gonna do is we're gonna simply loosen this string. As you can see, there is another adjustment part right in here. It might be more visible on some of these other strings. You're going to put an Allen wrench in there, you're going to loosen it off, and then you're going to move the saddle either forward or backward. So if the note that I'm playing at the 12th fret was sharp, take the saddle and you're going to move it backwards. Now if the note you're playing on the 12th fret is a little bit more flat and to the left, what you're going to be doing is doing the opposite, and you're going to move the saddle to the left or towards the headstock or towards the neck on this guitar. But the overall premise of moving the saddle backwards or forward is the exact same on every guitar, whether it has a headstock or not. As you can see, we're tuning the guitar up, just plucking the note, slapping it off the fingerboard, tuning it at the back here, just so when I pick the note, it's going to be in tune. Play it at the 12th fret, and there we go. Might have to adjust it a little bit more, but that is essentially how you intonate your headless guitar. I'm going to do the rest of the strings off camera, and I'll see you at the end. All right, and that's going to do it for setting up your headless guitar, whether it has 6, 7, 8, or more than 8 strings on the guitar. Regardless of how many strings your headless guitar has, pretty well everything in today's video should apply to your guitar. Just double check on the hardware that you are using in case you have to adjust it a little bit differently to get that action where you would like it. If you learned something new and you liked the video, make sure you let me know down below in the comments section. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Got tons more videos like this going over guitar maintenance tips, and if you are a returning subscriber, make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that I upload. Thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you next time.